I slip up and screw shit up every day at some point, but you have to keep working at it. You get in the military, we say complacency kills. You get complacent and it'll kill your business. It'll kill your relationships. It'll kill your fitness. Like you have to. We also say in the military, in the Marines, you have to earn the title of Marine every day. It's the same thing. You have to earn the title of husband, of dad every single day. You're not just because you had a kid. You're not a dad every day. You need to re-earn that title and that respect every single freaking day by the habits you're having and what you're doing every single day.
I'm Chris Rodack. Welcome to the Rising Father podcast. I'm super excited to have on Steve Eckert. He's with The Project, and he's a peak performance coach. Welcome, Steve.
What's up, brother? You're always exciting to get to have conversations with like-minded men like yourself. It doesn't happen often enough with men these days.
Absolutely. I've been looking forward to this for a while now. So I'm just going to jump right into it. What is The Project?
The project is a 75-hour immersive event. It's for men only. We hold it here in Southern California. It's a 4-day program. Runs from a Tuesday till a Friday, and we are there with the men 24 hours a day, really diving deep into what we call the 4 F-bombs: the family, the fitness, the finances, and faith. And we're saying faith, not necessarily just religious, but their faith in themselves, their belief in themselves, their belief in their ability to reach their goals in the other 3, the family, the fitness, and the finances. And it's really it might be for a high-performing man that's just looking to go to the next level. It might be for a man that had never had any real challenges in his life, and that's what's held him back. A lot of time, there's probably 10 to 15% of the men that come through the project that aren't necessarily all fucked up or traumatized or whatever, but they were never had a chance to really prove themselves or find out who they are, what the hell they're really made of, what their real potential is. And then for other men that come in, it's they started slipping up. They started losing track of what's important, what their real purpose in life is, and they started going towards the pleasures. And it's what we call a transformation, helping them break the cycle and flipping the switch so they could transform from killing their inner bitch and unleashing their beast that we know is within all men. It's just a matter of, do they want it to actually extract it, make the decision to make that change. So that's what it's all about. It's a transformative process, and the results that we've had now, we're about to start class 16 this Tuesday. Amazing. It's been life-changing results for these men.
So 3 days, right?
Yeah, well, it's from a Tuesday till a Friday. So yeah, 75 hours total, but it runs over the course of 4 days. But yeah.
What is it about guys specifically now, these last few, I don't know how, you said this is your 16th one of these. So for the last few years, like, what is it you see about guys that they really need something like this? Like, what's changing in men, or what are you identifying as an issue that needs to be overcome?
Yeah, so men are not meant to be soft and freaking weak. And I'll give a perfect example. I was at my daughter's birthday party. This is her birthday's coming up this year, but I remember this was only last year. And I was there talking to a bunch of the wives there, and they're there with their daughters. So there was about 7 or 8 of them, and about 15 kids, all in this group that I'm speaking to as my wife's there setting up. And one woman asked me about the project, just how you did. What is it? I just told her a real quick, brief overview of it. And another one says, "Oh yeah, I've seen that video. I've seen some of those videos. Oh my God, my husband wouldn't last 60 seconds in that thing." And her and all her friends start fucking laughing. Ooh. And their kids are there hearing this about their dads. A bunch of women and their friends in front of people in public laughing at their dad, saying that he would quit within, not that he just wouldn't make it, that he would quit within 60 seconds, and laughing about it. That's what I see is the problem right there. That's the way that society has gone. Men aren't meant to be soft and weak and having guts and bitch tits. It's just not the way that it's supposed to be. Whatever people want to say about it these days, that's not the way it should be.
That's sad. And I had a similar experience this week earlier, because I'm in Pittsburgh, and we don't have that beautiful California weather, but it's been like 20s and 30s forever. And then we had a rare day where it was randomly 72 degrees and sunny. So we went out to the park with the family, and my kids were running around, and I just, ever since they were born, for me, it's just like, I cannot let them outrun me. I can't let them, be more athletic than me. I have to be the one leading the charge with that. So I just am as energetic as I can be, running around, going up and down the monkey bars, all that stuff with them. And the amount of, not just men, but the amount of parents that sit on the benches staring at their phone while their kids run around and play and come and grab their hand and beg them to play with them. And they say, no, just go. And the shape they're in is really, really sad. And it makes you a little depressed about the future. But for what you just said, I mean, that's depressing to think. If I could think of my son laughing in public about, yeah, my dad could never handle that, I think that would be one of my worst nightmares there.
Oh, they make you want to bash your head against the wall. And I bet when you're in that park, running around and playing, you're on the monkey bars, maybe even falling and just having fun. And there were parents on the side talking shit about you. Like,
Sure.
Who does he think he is? Like, for whatever reason, they'll find some reason to put you down for what you're doing. Like, oh, look, what is that? How immature is this guy? They'll talk shit about you for doing that to make themselves feel better about sitting with resting their phone and tweetering on the bench there.
Yeah, I mean, that happens with everyone. As soon as you see someone who does better than you in any way, you kind of puts that mirror up. You're like, well, why am I not like that? If I'm not like that, it must be because they're doing something differently, or they cheated in some way, or did that. Yeah, they a couple. There were some athletic dads who I luckily knew who were doing stuff with us, but yeah, most of the people were sitting down, and that's something that I feel like your organization and the thing that you're doing is so great for dads, or just men in general, not just fathers, but anyone that needs to get their ass kicked a little bit. And what is it about, like, I watched some of your videos and guys are crawling through mud, they're getting screamed at, they're getting yelled at. What is it about that suffering that kind of flips the switch for guys?
Yeah, also a good question. So we're men, we're knuckleheads. We automatically will show up with a guard up, and you won't rarely see any of the men flip that switch until at least over 24 hours in. So the first 24 hours is just brutal. It's a breakdown. It's a breakdown physically, so they can have breakthroughs mentally, emotionally, socially, spiritually, even financially. And it's because they need to let that guard down, because we show up and they have their egos and whatever other reasons that brought them there, or that they need to level up in, and it needs to be broken down. It needs to be beat out of you almost. And it's a metaphor for life. Like, life's gonna just keep kicking you in the fucking nuts, and how are you gonna respond to it? And we're putting that pressure. We're putting massive amounts of violent pressure on them to see how they're gonna react. And that's what's needed. You're used to living those comfortable, complacent lives, sitting on the benches, staying at home, not doing the things, so not playing with the kids like you're playing with them, and they've gotten soft and weak, and their wives are not looking for another son. They're looking for a man, a leader, a husband, and most of them show up at their home like a little man child, like they're another son to their wife.
What kind of guys are you typically working with? Now, you mentioned they're soft, they're entrepreneurs, they need help with their finances. Who's the typical guy that comes to your thing?
I'd say the average is probably upper 30s, low 40s is around the average, but there are the outliers. We've had as young as an 18-year-old come through and graduate just because he felt himself slipping down the wrong track. And we've had our oldest now is 60 as a graduate that came through and was just a pure savage. We've had 57-year-olds that really graduated as the honor man, just came through and destroyed it. But for the most part, I'd say it's a professional married with kids, obviously, and a professional. A lot of entrepreneurs or higher level professional that realize that just because people on the outside might look at a lot of people's lives and be like, oh, that person has the perfect life. Once you get inside that person's life, you're like, holy shit, I wouldn't trade my life for that for the world, because they're all kinds of fucked up. So a lot of times it's like that. They have all kinds of different vices or whatever it is. And usually I think it boils down to three categories of what the reason men need to overcome. And that's what we try to work through in the project with these breakdowns. And the first one is usually their daddy issues or parent issues, but specifically usually their daddy issues. Grown-ups, and still affected by the way that they grew up in their childhood. And I know it's something that is very traumatic or whatever, but when you're 30, 40, 50, 60 years old, and you're still claiming this, you're still using this stuff from your childhood to hold you back, like it's comes to some point you have to say, all right, I'm gonna put on my fucking big boy pants, and I'm actually gonna be an adult and mature. The second thing would be something that you're chasing, those vices like alcohol, drugs. That's on the one side. And then the third thing would be money and women, that ego side of the vices. So those three different categories, a man overcomes that stuff. I say it all the time, overcomes the women with their women problems, their daddy problems, and alcohol problems, drug problems, whatever. That's all a man needs to overcome. It's not that hard when it comes down to it. That's like the way it's supposed to be. You don't get a sticker for doing the shit you're supposed to be doing, but that's usually the issues that people are coming through with.
Yeah, what I see is a lot of, especially with my friends. One of the reasons why I started kind of my Rising Father brand and wanted to get into this space was just the fact that so many guys I knew that I grew up with. I had this one guy, he's the strongest guy in my school, football player, super tough guy, got married, had kids. Now, I mean, he's just the shell of the person he used to be. He's hit this mental block where he kind of thinks that I hit my peak a while ago. Now it's a slow slide down, and my goals and aspirations are something of the past. And, you're foolish if you try to go after that. But it's not just him. I see that in a lot of middle-aged men, 30s to 40s, who could be in the prime of their life. They could be the best physically they've ever been. They could be starting a business. They could be working on their communication skills, but they really feel like that time is over. And it's not just the people around me. I feel like it's a cultural thing where a lot of men feel like once they become a dad, especially, like, all right, the goals are taking a back seat. Now it's time to kind of coast on the rest of the way. You retire, you go to the golf course, and then that's the life from now on. That's a little depressing to me. To me, that thinking about that really makes me sad. And also going back to fatherhood, your kids, I saw a great video of yours where you were talking about, your kids are watching you do every single thing you do. And I say the same thing. The older they get, the more they're going to remember. Like whenever you're 30 years old or 35 and your kids are younger, it's super important we do every single day. They're not necessarily going to remember specific moments, but whenever you start to get a little bit older and they hit those teenage years and they get a little bit older, then they remember these specific things you did, these specific moments. And it's like, man, that's when you need to turn it up. Like this is when you need to start becoming your best so your kids can model that every single day. I feel like the thing you're doing is, if you're a dad, you need that little kick in the ass a little bit.
Yeah, and on the first point that you made about just society in general, how it's become, that's been, I think, if you look at the movies, look at almost every movie, they make the father this weak, goofy, made fun of. The wife is really leading the show, the one holding the shit together, and the father's like a shit show. Started all the way back, like as funny of a show it was, Married with Children, Al Bundy. It's the same thing. That's when men just started getting made fun of, and they would just sit on the couch with their hand in their pants doing nothing while the world just blew by them, and they were not doing their duties as a freaking man. And look, he lived on his 4 touchdowns, and he scored at Polk High back in high school, and that's what he lived off of his entire life. Exactly what you're talking about. And that's been the culture of entertainment. And if you look at all those sitcoms and all the movies that are out there, they're always making men look soft and weak. And it is sad. It's sad. It's disgusting a little bit. And yeah, as you said, your kids are always watching. George Patton said you're always on parade, meaning you're always being watched. You're always on parade in front of the people that you're leading, and especially those little eyeballs. They are soaking in all that stuff, even the stuff that they don't constantly know they're soaking in. It's soaking into them and creating and crafting them into who they're going to be by all the little subconscious things that are going on around them. Hell yeah, there's a huge weight on our shoulders and a lot of pressure on our shoulders when we have kids and especially sons, I think.
What you're talking about TV shows is so important. I mean, I think about, Everyone Loves Raymond, King of Queens, every show that I grew up with in the 90s, same thing. The family structure was the mom who ran things, the dad who was weak and an idiot, drunk most of the time, fat, sloppy. And it was like the whole point of the show is, isn't it funny how dumb this dad is.
Yeah.
And then everyone just, that was the whole point of the 5-year show is, man, dad is so dumb. And whenever you're a kid and you watch that for years and years and years, that sinks into your head and you just start to think, man, okay, that's the way guys are. Yeah. Like when I'm trying to think of the last time I saw a TV show where it was a strong male figure who was wise, who was in shape, who was a leader, strong, and led his family. And he got respect. Like you have to really, I can't even think of one. There's maybe there's a kid show called Bluey. That's pretty good. It's an Australian show, amazingly. But yeah, besides that, I mean, it's very hard to find anything in the media which is kind of espousing the same virtues that you talk about, that I talk about, that is completely missing. And I feel like that's why stuff like your program is taking off and men's programs, because it's not out there. Like, where else are you going to find people passionately cheering on men to be masculine, strong leaders? Like,
I need to give you the opportunity to. It's frowned upon nowadays. So even just giving the opportunity just to be a man and unleash that beast, and we give them plenty of opportunities to do it and plenty of chances to step up, and also having confrontation and face-to-face confrontation, whether it's verbally or even physically. We give them opportunities in both ways, giving and receiving feedback. Like, you should see how uncomfortable grown men are when they just have to go and tell another man what he's doing wrong. And it's never happens smoothly, and you can tell it doesn't happen often enough or ever, that some of these men, it's the first time they're standing face to face, nose to nose, toes to toes with another man and giving him feedback, and then taking feedback, and then taking it so personal, like a little child, when you get that feedback, instead of realizing, all right, I'm kind of fucked up, I probably should do something about it. It's probably a reason why 16 other men are saying this thing about me, because we have them do ratings and they rate each other several checkpoints throughout the 75 hours. And it's almost an interesting psychological and human example that we're seeing there of how people react to having to give and receive feedback, especially in person, especially to another man, especially if it's maybe a bigger man than you, and still having to go tell him how he's fucked up and how they go about that. It's crazy. It's not done enough.
Can I dig into that a little bit? Like, can you give me a specific example? You talk about giving each other ratings. Is this like physically, or is it a mental challenge? What happens?
No, so yeah, we'll have them rank each other. Let's just say there's 10 guys left that started, and at different specific checkpoints after specific evolutions, we'll have them in front with us there. We'll ask any random individual, who's your number one guy here? Who's the one that's had the biggest impact on you? Who's the last guy? If you have to send someone home, someone that's either not holding their weight or not being a team player, not being a leader, who would be ranked last? And that'll start tons of discussions, and someone will say why someone's last. Another person says, who's last? Well, why is he last? And they'll start looking at the ground, and they're all on line, shoulder to shoulder, so they can't see each other at this point. They're standing on line, so they're not necessarily looking at each other. And you'll ask them, well, why is Bill last? And they'll look down, well, he's just not putting out, I think he could do better. They'll, under their breath, they'll look down at the ground, they'll be telling me and looking away and looking at the ground. When Bill's three men over, like, don't fucking tell me, don't tell the ground, don't tell the sky, go and tell Bill. So they'll have to go over there and tell Bill, and it'll usually be something very superficial, like, I think you're not putting out enough. Like, no, that's not fucking good enough. What kind of horrible, and some of those people would count themselves as number one, and that's the kind of feedback and leadership they're giving and the way they're reacting to give feedback. Well, if he's just not putting out, you're the so you say you're number one or you're number three and he's number 10, and only information and feedback you can give him is he's not putting out enough. Like, how is that good leadership? How is that good feedback? What could he do with that? How could he actually get out from the 10th spot when that's the case? And then there might be times when someone's ranked 10th for 3 of those different check-ins throughout, and someone might give Bill ranked 10 3 times in a row. To me, that's not Bill's fucking fault. That's whoever gave him that ranking 3 times in a row fault. No one should be at the bottom for very long. Like, what did you do? I'll ask Bill. So what did he do? He ranked you last 3 rounds of evolutions in a row. What did he do? How many times did he take you aside and try to help you out and coach you up and help you get your shit together None. Well, but he's going to give you the last ranking. To me, that's the last fucking dude that's going to just keep throwing people under the bus, not even trying to help them out and say they're last. No one should stay at the bottom for very long. That 10 spot should constantly change, because once they're 10, someone who claims to be a leader should be helping that person out of that situation.
So you're really breaking down the ego, it sounds like. Because if I was thought I was a badass, ripped guy, black belt or something, and business owner, and I came there and I just thought I was the shit, and then someone ranked me 10, it would probably do a number on my psyche.
We've had multi-millionaires show up that have been running their companies and organizations with literally thousands of employees, 45, 50 years old, ranked last over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, and some of them need that. Some of them, that's what they're going to get the most out of that, is something like that, a little thing like that. Well, not little, but
yeah,
that's going to be one of their breakthroughs. Like, holy shit. The Harvard Business Review did studies on CEOs, and I think it was only geared towards men. That part I'm not sure about, but they asked them to rank themselves in these 10 different categories. Then they asked their teams to rank the CEOs in the same 10 categories. The CEOs gave number 1 to self-awareness. They said they thought they were the great at self-awareness, and number 2 was information sharing, and number 3 was team development. You completely invert that. That's exactly what their teams gave them the worst at. Self-awareness is the worst. And that was across the board. So what we think we are half the time, like that, it is an ego thing. And that's what a lot of the men come through there with. And they need to be ranked last. Those very, what look like successful people from the outside, but you get into their lives again, and it's not something that you'd want a part of.
And it's hard to, if you live, if you're in that position and you don't reach out to groups like yours or any other group and seek feedback and seek a mirror and seek other people's opinions, like you're never going to find that out. You're just, and if you're constantly getting praised by people who you pay, then it's hard to ever evolve in this way, I would imagine. So, if you're a multi-millionaire business owner and you don't say, hey, I want to go get the shit beat out of me for 3 days, then you're kind of stuck in this bubble where you're not really growing. And the self-awareness growth is like the biggest thing you have to do, because if no one's telling you what you suck at, then that just part of you that sucks just continues to grow and continues to suck. So I would it takes some guts for those people, even the multimillionaire business owners who go and were ranked last, kudos to them for putting themselves in that situation, because that's the step they have to take.
Yeah. The men that come there, people say, well, why do you have to pay for this? If you really cared about military and veterans, then you would do this for free, or would just cost a few $100. Meanwhile, it costs us over $250,000. Bottom line, just to even run each single class over that amount, well over that for every class. So It's impossible to do shit for free. Although we would love to do it for free, not charge. But people say, how could you charge for this? If you really wanted to help men, you would do this. There's a point where you have to have skin in the game. There's also a point, like the men that show up there, you said, it's self-awareness, you give kudos to them. Yeah, hell yeah, to put themselves in that position and know, especially seeing some videos that are out there, knowing that they're going to be just a white shirt with everyone else, showing up with a blank white shirt, and have to prove themselves and see how well they deal with the pressure and adversity. And it is something to be said for that, for actually just showing up there. And that's why we say, when it comes to men, a 1, 2, and a 3 are just never going to show up to the project. They're the ones who are going to say, they're the ones that are never even going to get coaching. They're not going to make personal development. They're not going to watch shows like this and take it serious. The 1s, 2s, and 3s, because they're going to say, why would I pay for that? This is stupid. It's a waste of my time. I don't have time for that. It's the 4, 5s, and 6s that are going to get a ton out of it, because they have at least enough self-awareness. And I'm fucked up. I'm nowhere near my fullest potential, and I need to become a 7, 8, and a 9. Mm-hmm. So yeah, there needs to be some level of self-awareness to even take that leap to jump in there. And unfortunately, most men really are a good percentage right now, and that's what our mission is, are stuck in that 1, 2s, and 3s, that some of them don't want help. And you can't help everyone, and you can't help the ones that don't want to help themselves and don't decide to do something about their lives. And unfortunately, you really can't do anything about those people.
Yeah, there's definitely 3 categories. There's the self-starters, people who are self-motivated. Then there's that gold middle group who want to improve. But then that's sad that you do have that C group who either maybe it's just not their time. Maybe in a couple of years from now, they'll keep watching your stuff and be like, all right, this is my time to do it. This is my time. And yeah, some of them like buy into programs, but they don't do anything. And then maybe a year from now, like I'm in some programs where, you know, they're expensive to join, but some people join them for a year, don't do shit. And then they're like, oh, sorry, I've been out of the game for a year. Now I'm going to start doing something. And it's like, okay, you took your time and that's fine. But what you said about having skin in the game is important, because I've run various free challenges and stuff to help fathers get their shit together. And I've got a Facebook group with thousands of people in it. And then I'll have, 200 people say, yeah, I want to do it. It's free. And then like when it comes down to the people actually doing the thing, doing the challenge, challenging themselves, it's like 20, because it didn't cost them anything and it was free. But the filtering process is nice though, because the people that come down that you actually get to know and network with and meet are the people who want to get their shit together. And they're always quality people. Like, I'm sure you have thousands of people apply to do your thing, but the people that actually show up and get their face in the mud are going to be the kind of people you want to get to know.
Yeah, that's what we tell them all the time. Even just for the first level of, all right, you saw the ad on YouTube and usually you just skip it. You didn't skip the ad, all right? There is the first step. You're now one step closer. Then you actually watch the ad, next step. Then you actually click the link, went to the page. There's the next step. You watch the videos on the page. You put in your information, you put in your name and your phone number and your email information. You schedule the call. Then that took a lot of steps to get there. So it is a gauntlet to get through there. So yeah, once you show up, that's saying that you at least have that high, several levels of self-awareness. You need to get your fucking house in order. And yeah, and then especially showing up there. And we have guys who haven't made it either from, say, a medical issue, like through the class, they had to drop out for medical reasons or quitting. And then a very few of those, but there's been a few that actually came back after that. And I didn't say to them, how would you ever show back up to this thing after you already saw what it was like? But yeah, there's something to that they made that decision. It's simple. They made a decision to break the cycle in their life, in their family tree, and they want to be the one who ends that shit.
Have any guys opened up to you about like, man, this is the thing that made me flip the switch, like you just said? Like when they're in this shit, when they're getting emotional and they don't think they can go any, like, hey, I've been living in a daze for 5 years. I saw your ad and I decided it was time right now. Have any of them opened up to you about like why they did it?
A lot of the words we hear are lost the fire, lost the spark, was in a rut. There are some that are even probably close, like suicidal. They've gotten complacent in life. They stopped being that role model. They see something that their kids said to them or their wife said to them or comments that were made, and they just finally made a decision that they had enough. And they know that it's going to take something extreme to beat that inner bitch out of them. They feel like a bitch. They feel that inner bitch coming out too often and controlling them, and they've decided it's time to take control of it instead of just giving into it and riding out life. Like you said, 30 years old, 40 years old, and they're talking about like it's the end of the line. We get guys on calls and that talk to us about the project, and they say, oh, I'm getting a little older. I'm almost 40. I'm like, holy shit. Like, and you're already talking, like you said, you're on the downward, like you're just checking out, and you're just going to ride it out to the end. Like, holy shit, I'm 45 and I'll whoop the 23-year-old version of myself's ass. That's how I judge my progress.
Yeah, that's always so sad to hear. Even I do jujitsu, and even some of the new guys that come in that are, 39, 41, they'll be like, oh, I can't do this warm up. I'm 40s now. Like, come on, man. Get your shit together. Yeah. Like, we got to get that fire back in you. And the same thing, like the same buddies I was talking about earlier, whenever we've hit 30, 32, 33, it was all this talk about slowing down. It's like, man, you got to get out. Like, that is the death spiral mindset of, God, you're slowing down in your 30s. Man, this is the time. This is the time to ride. Like, this is the time to get your shit going.
And that's usually the point. And then they start getting married, having kids, and now they think that that's it because they got married and had the kids. all right, now I'm done. Motherfucker, that's when the game just started. That's the starting point. That's not the finish line.
Yeah. So what is it? I'm trying to think about that, because that thought never really entered my mind, because I think so many people I knew had the opposite example. I was like, I don't want to do that. So what is it about like getting married, having kids, that makes some guys just turn it all off and be like, all right, it's coasting time? Like, what do you think could be a reason for that?
Probably some of their, probably the way they're, again, we say breaking the cycle. I have a show with my kids. We sit down live. We do a show like usually once a month, and it's called Breaking the Cycle. And I think
Awesome.
that's the cycle that they've seen happening, and they're caught up in that loop, and they haven't had that fucking wake up call to be the one to break that cycle. It's probably how their father was, how his father was, like, and they use that as an excuse to be the same way. Like they have the old story, fable, whatever, about there's two twin brothers. One of them's a millionaire and one of them's a homeless crackhead. And they ask the millionaire, the crackhead, how did you become a homeless crackhead? He's like, well, my father beat me, he neglected me, he was a crackhead, and he was on drugs, and he was an alcoholic, and that's why I became a homeless crackhead. They asked the millionaire, his twin brother, how did you become a millionaire? He says, well, my father neglected me, he beat me, he was a homeless crackhead, and that's how I became a millionaire. Like, he used that as a fuel to the freaking fire, not as an excuse. So he used that as an example. And I do the same thing. Like the way I am with my kids, when I was a kid, when I was younger, I learned all my discipline, everything I know, all my success, all the energy I have, I give all the credit to my father. Because when I was a kid, I looked at my father every day and I said, when I get older, I want to be nothing like that motherfucker. So he didn't even know. He was giving me the blueprint to success on exactly what not to do. So I have the easiest job. I just do the opposite of what my father would have done, and I'm a super dad, and I'm trying to be successful in business and be a decent husband just by doing the opposite of what I learned. So I don't know, and I've thought about for a long time. What causes some people to see that example and fall into that cycle, and then the certain individuals, and it's not enough, and it's pretty rare, that actually be like, all right, I'm going to do the opposite of that and break that cycle. I don't know if it's something in the DNA of stubbornness or what it is, but I don't even know if that's even figure outable, but there's something that makes some percentage break that cycle instead of just getting caught up in the rap and then it just put it down their family tree.
I mean, some of it might just be chance, like maybe some of it, maybe you went to an event that inspired you. Maybe you ran into someone at college or in the military that inspired you. Because a lot of people join the military. Not everyone ends up like you, a lot of people like you said, have abusive dads. Not everyone ends up successful. Some people go the other way. That's a good question. Like, what causes some people to demotivate and what causes some people to motivate? I don't think I have the answer to that. That's a tough one.
Yeah, I've been like digging into that one literally for years. Like, why do some use that as fuel and some use that as excuses?
And it kind of, whenever you start to use stuff like that as an excuse, I think it's connected to pleasure in some way, because it does feel good. Because I can think back to even times in my life where maybe I was down, or I was like, I don't feel like doing this thing because it's really hard. So instead, maybe I'll just stay in bed for another hour. And you're kind of giving up on doing something, but the reward is it kind of feels good for a moment. And it is like to decide to take this trauma and bust your ass and make something of yourself is a shit ton of work. And it's a lot harder than saying, this is my reason for not being good. This is my reason for not making something out of myself. It's definitely, it's like a less rewarding route, obviously, but it's definitely the easier route. You mentioned your kids. You said you're doing a show with them. I wrote that down. It's called Breaking the Cycle.
Yeah.
Is that on YouTube?
Yeah, YouTube. We do usually Instagram live with it, but then we put it on YouTube also. Yeah, it's on YouTube channel.
Awesome. So let's talk about your kids a little bit, because I like to talk about fatherhood. So how old are they?
My son is 11 and daughter's 8.
Now, how do they work into what you do? I mean, they're very aware of what you do. Are they involved? Like, how do they work into the business?
Oh, we talk about everything. We have conversations about everything. We talk about it live about everything. They know exactly what the project is. They see videos of it. They know what it's all about. They know the other businesses that I have. They know about how coaching is. They know with training. So I started off as a trainer, as a personal trainer. And yeah, they're involved in all of it. They see it. We work from home. I've worked from home for, I don't even know, probably 6-7 years now, way before the shutdowns and all that stuff. So we work from home, and now they're also, we don't even call it homeschooling, but home lifing. So we pulled them out of school just this year, and we do it ourselves here on our own curriculum. We don't follow any curriculum. We do, like yesterday, me and my son, I helped him. He showed me he has a workout he created, because today or after this, he's doing his first live Zoom training. Started his own little side business for fitness for kids called Freak Fit. And
Awesome.
he's a Zoom workout with a bunch of kids from one of the groups that I'm in right after this. So we were just going over kind of how to run a live Zoom and how to interact and things like that. That was his homeschooling yesterday. And then after that, we went in the backyard with all the different ways that we have of starting fires, and we practiced starting fires. That was just our homeschooling for the day yesterday.
That's amazing.
So yeah, they're in on everything. We work out together every day. He hasn't missed a day of training. 2022, he made his goal to not miss a day, so he trained every single day, and I did along with him. We do different 24-hour challenges. We have a 24-hour workout coming up. They're along. We take them along for the ride with us on everything. We've done 24-hour hikes, 24-hour push-up challenges, 24-hour bike rides, and then they convinced me after a certain amount of those challenges, we did a 24-hour video game challenge. We sat and played fucking video games. And that's literally from over a year ago. I still have a strained hamstring from that. All the crazy shit we do, I got an injured hamstring from our video game challenge.
Oh man, that would be the toughest one for me, I think, sitting on the couch for 24 hours.
Yeah. Well, every time like a screen loaded or it reset or whatever, we had to do an exercise. So we would do a set. So we got hundreds and hundreds of sets in, because we couldn't just sit there. We had to add our own twist to it, but still, it was a lot of sitting around.
Yeah, that's awesome. My son, he does CrossFit. My wife and daughter do CrossFit, but he, like, probably, I don't know, 150 days ago, he was super amped up. I was practicing basketball with him, and he said, "Dad, watch me do burpees." So just on the concrete, started doing burpees and push-ups and this whole little CrossFit routine. And then he was like, "Dad, we should work out every day for a year." I was like, okay. I was like, "Listen, man, we don't have to." I said, "But if you want to," I was like, "I'll do it with you." And he was just so amped up. I said, "Let's do it." And then he spit it on his hand. He was like, "We're doing a spit oath." I said, "Let's do it, man." So we did a spit oath there on the basketball court, and we've been working out every day before school for about 150 days now. And it's amazing what that does, not just for their body, but like for the consistency, for the mindset, and just for your bond. Like to be able to work out with your kid every single day, to know that you've got his back, that he's got your back. Like that's huge.
What better connection? Like, what a force multiplier. First of all, you should be training. You should be doing stuff with your family. You should be doing stuff with your friends. You should be doing stuff outside. Now imagine you can combine a lot together. You're training with your family, maybe sometimes also friends included, getting outdoors and doing it a lot of the times. Like, what a force, what better use of your freaking time can you do that? That's a force multiplying time right there when you combine shit like that together. And yeah, days off, we don't believe in days off, really. We don't ever take them, and we don't believe in days off or cheat days or half-assing days. Like, imagine, I tell them all the time, imagine today was your last day. Imagine you go outside and you get hit by a fucking truck and you're dead. You don't know if this could be your last day. Do you want your last day on this planet to be a day that you took off, a day off? Like, that's how you went out, on a freaking day off, or a cheat day? Like, you'll never see on my calendar. It's like you're planning to purposely go against everything you believe in and break your discipline, and a cheat day. We don't have cheat meals or cheat days. If there's ever a food that we know we shouldn't be having, you're consciously having it, and you know the consequences of it, and maybe it's a reward to what you were doing, but we're busting our ass on top of that. But we're not going to go out on a half-ass day, or a day where I slept in, or a day where I didn't go all out, all in, all the time, and that's your last day. That's what you're going to be remembered and known for, a cheat or a day off? Fuck no. Hell no.
That's a different level of thinking. I don't know many people who think like that. And that's a good thing. I mean, even if, you got the people who don't work out, then you have the people who kind of work out, and you have a whole nother level of people who eat pretty good And then you've got the people who do work out and are bodybuilders, but yeah, cheat meals and cheat days, a lot of that's kind of regular talk. It's like, okay, today's my day to eat whatever I want all day. And to be consistent with what you're talking about is another level of being okay with it, because you have to be okay. You kind of have to twist your brain into like not thinking that that's the break. Like you have to enjoy the process of what you're doing. So it seems like you enjoy just that daily discipline.
Oh, we love it. Like even the workouts, and some days that we'll be sore and maybe a tweaked knee. Guess what? Those are the days we're going to do a extra hard workout just to same way people say worried about rest and recovery. I'm going to rest and recover by getting the right amount of sleep, by eating healthy, by having a positive attitude, by waking up on time and early and going to sleep at a decent time. That's my rest and recovery. Stretching and meditation and getting journaling. That's my recovery and regeneration, so that I can train every day. Like if it's what it's doing, what you're releasing on it, if it's something's working for us, like why would we intentionally not do it on a day? Like it's just part of the beats of life. It's part of the day. Like I can't imagine not being active for a day. And it doesn't matter. Like we've probably all had the coronas for several times. Yes. But I don't even get tested. It's just, we're going to train. We're going to freaking train. Like who cares?
It's a whole nother thing. So with your kids, what is it? So they're obviously watching you and everything you do, like from the moment you wake up to go to sleep, they're watching you. Have you witnessed their behavior and actions changing in specific ways to things you've done? Like you mentioned working out, but for example, my daughter, okay, she doesn't work out with us like my son does. She's 7. She works out occasionally, and I'm not going to push her to do it yet. At some point, I am pushing her to do jujitsu because she has to be able to defend herself. She's too pretty. She's too cute. She doesn't have a choice with that. So she does have to do jujitsu. But for working out, she does it when she wants with us, but she also does kids CrossFit. But just by us doing it, like she's just doing it more and more on her own. And the way she taught me and my wife were really strict about our macros and tracking our food. And our kids just start to talk about food in a different way and talk about, hey, is that fatty? Dad, peanut butter. Is that fatty? Is this the low fat peanut butter? Is it like, are there things that you're noticing your kids are just kind of picking up on because you're living that life?
Oh yeah, definitely. Maybe 6 years, maybe 5, 6 years, I've started meditating on an app, and I just follow on an app. They see that and they do it every single day. They go on the app. I got them their own accounts now because they go on the app and they want to meditate every day. They do some type of journaling and writing every day because they see me always every morning and every night in a book writing. They see it. Like, what are you doing? We talk about it. Now we teach it to them after they start asking and having interest in it. Reading, especially reading. Any free moment I have, my face is buried in a freaking book. I need as much help as I can in the smarts department. So I'm constantly soaking into knowledge and reading and digging into it. And they see that. And we have a whole 3 different areas of the house, 3 separate libraries of the house. Like every house should have a home library. And it's defense side, self-defense side. They see being a protector and they want to know how to defend. Like they think we do security checks around the house every night. Do a security check, sometimes armed, sometimes lights out and just flashlights, sometimes just real quick and doing it, like checking all the windows and doors, making sure the garages are closed, the alarm is set, there's no one hiding in the house or something. We do that every single night before we go to sleep, a security check, just to also give us better sleep, better peace of mind going into sleep. So they just see you being protective and they want to be protectors. They see you the way you're taking care of yourself physically, and they want to do it. They're at my sister's house. My sister told me this is a few months ago, and she was making them some food, and they said, "Are there any artificial colors in there?" And they pull out the thing. She's like, "I don't know." They look and they read on the thing. They're like, "No, this has red 40, and we're not gonna be having that." She's like, "What the fuck just happened?" Like, yeah, they'll pick that stuff up. I never told them you have to go read these labels. They see you reading labels, and it's working, and they like what they see and they want to be like you. Like to me, that's the meaning of life, is to have kids, and people who don't have kids or can't have kids, I think they find a lot harder struggle to find their purpose in life. I really think the purpose in life is to have kids and then be the type of man that your son would want to become and that your daughter would want to marry. Like, what other purpose and meaning in life could there be? So if you are that type of man that they want to become, they're going to see the things. That doesn't mean everything. There's certain things that's just not going to be something they're into, and that's fine too. But they pick up so many of the important key daily disciplines and habits that they see on a constant basis, where it's because it's every single day. It's every day, total consistency. And if they like their father and they want to be like their father, they're going to want to do at least a good portion of the similar things that they're doing.
Yeah, there's so many parenting books with strategies and things to say and, steps to take, but really it just comes down to, if you want to be a better parent, you just have to be a better person. That's the easiest, not the easiest, it's the hardest thing to do, but it's the best thing to do. I mean, I can't write you a book of 10 things to say to your son to get him to listen. It's like, no, if he respects you and he wants to be like you and he wants to model his life after you, then he'll listen to you. That's not always going to be the case. All right. So you mentioned a lot of things that you do with your kids in your house, like security checks and making fires and home lifing, you called it. Do they enjoy all that, or is it forced?
No, like you said, the jiu-jitsu is kind of forced. There's very bare minimum, like daily disciplines that are, if you want, I don't even want to say forced. There's not general chores that are around the house. Like, these are just what you need to do, the garbages, the whatever, dishwasher. Yeah. But then there's jobs. There's a difference between chores and jobs. They have jobs which they can choose to take or not take. They're going to get rewards and actually get paid for them. Mm-hmm. Like, my son's been doing my laundry for me probably since he's, I don't even know, 5, 6 years old, literally, and not even joking. He does my laundry, and he knows what goes where. He knows when to do it, and he puts it away and folds the stuff up. He does all my supplements for me, like I have little separate containers for like little funnels, mini single serving funnels for pre-workout, post-workout, with the different supplements I need in there, creatine and glutamine, and afterwards the protein and whatever else I need in there. And they're all made out usually 2 weeks worth. Same thing with vitamins. There's different vitamins I take in the morning and then in the middle of the day and then nighttime before sleep. So there's 3 different categories of those. Those are all separated for 2 weeks worth. And that used to take me, think about it. There's 15 vitamins or 10 vitamins, like vitamin C and A and E that I'm taking every day. In the morning, I have to take the cap off, take the vitamin out, put the cap on, put the thing back, take out the C for 8 different ones in the morning, 5 in the middle of the day, another 7 at night. That's several minutes a day. Imagine that just taken off my hands. So that's a job. So we're learning discipline. We're learning earning your own money. We're learning how to delegate. How is that helping me? So that helps me take care of the family more, because now I have extra time to go work and make money and make an impact and provide for the family, because he's helping me do that and he gets paid for it. So yeah, there's lots of different things like that. There's the things that need to get done, just the basics of living in a house that any family or kids should do. And then there's the jobs that you will get paid for. And so when it comes to the stuff like fire, we had a one-on-one yesterday. We had I have a one-on-one scheduled with each kid at least once a week, and it's part of the home lifing. And what do we want to work on? We went on a hike and we had this fire starter thing that didn't work, and it pissed us off. So he's like, why don't we practice the fire? Like, more than half of it's their ideas. What do they want to get into? What are they into? Like, my daughter's into tennis, horses, gardening, chickens, animals. So that's what we work on. We work on setting up a chicken coop in the back. We're working on, she's got to earn a horse. She doesn't have it yet. She'll earn it eventually. We'll get a horse when she can show that she's going to be able to take care of such a massive creature like that. She's started building a garden in our backyard here. So we have a full garden with like 27 different fruits and vegetables that she's planting. So things that they're into, that's school. What else are they going to learn stuff like that in school? And the stuff they were learning in school was not conducive to our values and our goals and what they even liked and what they're into. So yeah, like my son, part of his, we have all the guns we have. He knows how to take every single one of them apart He knows what all the different pieces and parts are called. He cleans them all, puts them back together, and now he's wants to start practicing taking them apart with his eyes with a blindfolded and take them apart and put them back together and time it and track his times. Like, these are real life skills that they're going to have forever and use forever. And I'll say that kind of 80-20 rule, 80% of what they want to be doing, 20% of what we know they need and should be doing, probably somewhere around there.
Yeah, and because that's important, because a lot of dads think, all right, my kid should be doing this thing, but they don't want to do it. So do I make them do it, or do I not, or do I just leave it alone? In some of the, in some of the ways, they should be forcing them to do it, like you said, and the other part of it is the dads just aren't doing it themselves, so the kids don't want to model it. So I think you make your case a lot easier if you yourself are doing these things. Because if you're just sitting on the couch all day, then you tell your son, hey, you should be working out every day. It's not going to happen. He's just gonna say,
they have no respect. They've got zero respect for you also. Like, you're just sitting on your ass, you're telling me to do exactly what you're not doing. Like, what a fraud.
Yeah. And that's the last thing that any dad would ever want to be, is a fraud. Can I ask you about your background a little bit? I saw a picture of you with the Marines. So you were a Marine?
Yes, sir.
And can you take me a little bit from your time as a Marine to what brought you to doing the project and your group? I know you mentioned personal training, but is there a little bit of a story within that?
Yeah, it really all very similar, ties together. And again, like, from when I was a kid, not having a positive male role model, and from there, barely finishing high school and just running wild in the streets, lots of crime and getting in a lot of trouble and in jail a couple times, and literally straight from a courthouse to the Marine Corps recruiter. Back then in the 90s, Marine recruiters were hanging out at the courthouses. That's where they were recruiting from. Nowadays, it doesn't work that way. I don't know what's changed or whatever, but we went literally straight from a courthouse to the Marine recruiter. When it's the Marine Corps, and usually a lot of times you don't appreciate when you're a veteran. You don't appreciate it until after you're out. You appreciate a lot more, like what you really learn, and you start realize how much I was only in for 4 years of active duty, but you start thinking about everything you actually learned at such a young age. And I took everything I learned, probably didn't even use it as much as I could have when I was actually in the military, but then afterwards in starting a business and opening up a gym and running a business, thinking of it like a military operation, the discipline and the structure and even SOPs, like how to write SOPs and standard operating procedures and manuals and things like that we had, like, for every single task. So much of that transferred over into business and really into fatherhood, like just life skills that were transferable. And as that transferred into business and entrepreneurship, you start realizing how much other people need these type of tools that maybe didn't go to the military, maybe never started their own business, and they've never broke that cycle, and they need a little bit of help in doing that. And that's kind of how we started the project, was having conversations, just talking about, we need to do something like for men, an experience, some kind of project to help them get out of that rut and live the life of purpose. Because all of us instructors, when we came together and kind of created this thing, all had broken that cycle. Every one of us came from horrible, shitty backgrounds, shitty childhood, but somehow we're able to figure it out to at least turn it in the right direction. Still always figuring it out, still always making mistakes and failing things and screwing things up, but always trying to progress towards self-mastery every single day, getting better today than we were yesterday, but still not freaking good enough for tomorrow. So all really tied in together, using the skills from the military and discipline. Then that led into entrepreneurship, which gives you a whole new set of skills and thick skin and abilities from running a business of your own, and then having kids, and then realizing, all right, now shit just got real, because that's when it happened. After I pretty much started the business, had a kid, and said, all right, I started seeing myself slipping up, going towards the path of my own father. Because now I'm just, whatever the reason of the neglect is, I started working 5 a.m. till 10 p.m. in the business and realize, shit, I'm going to not see my kids. They're not going to know why I'm not there. It doesn't matter that they don't give a shit that I'm working and trying to make money. They're going to just know that daddy's not home ever and not here, whether it's because I'm out drunk and gambling or I'm running a business, I'm still not there. So I had to start. That's when I really think I started making some of those switches, and we bundled all that together. And that's really what the project is about. Dealing with turning from chaos into order and flipping that switch to become an even better husband, father, entrepreneur, leader, and just man in general. It's
a hard line to cross whenever you're trying to build a business and you also have a growing family. Like, a lot of people would say, man, I wish I would have done this before I had a family. But whenever you have kids growing with you, and you're also trying to put in hours to grow a business, it's really hard. You have a moral crisis that happens. How do you navigate that line?
That was the point when I realized, all right, I got to start putting pieces into place when my son was first born, that I don't have to be that one, because I was fucking grinding 7 days a week from early morning. We owned a gym in New York, all day just living there, literally some nights just sleeping there. So I'm there first thing in the morning by the 5 a.m. session. And then again, my kid was born to start seeing, all right, he's going to start looking at me the same way I looked at my father. So that's when I had to start really getting coaching, getting mentors, and listening to podcasts and things like this, going out to workshops to learn how to grow a real business, how not just to work day to day inside of it, to actually how to grow something, how to delegate, how to be a better leader, how to be a better person, so I can grow a business that I don't have to be there 24 hours a day. And then I can create a lifestyle. Basically, it was about, all right, what lifestyle do I want to live? What's my ultimate ideal? I call it my freak freedom lifestyle that I want to live, and now reverse engineer it. All right, let's get to work. Let's put a game plan in place, a strategy. And that goes back to the military. It's like a war plan. All right, here's the objective we need to have. Here's the commander's intent, the intent of why we want to do this, why we need to do this. And now here's the orders of how we're going to make this happen step by step. All right, now break down those orders into monthly tasks and now daily activities and habits that are going to have to happen in order to get this ideal lifestyle before it's too late, before my kids are so old they realize that daddy's not here at all. So that's why our ideal lifestyle was moving out to California, just because we like the weather and working from home and having kids homeschooled. So we're with them all the time now, all the time. And we wanted to, even when we're traveling, like I traveled out to Texas for a Squire program, which is a father-son program that we run. And I bought an RV right before the last trip that we did that, just because I wanted the family to come along with me. So we went along, we did a road trip to Texas in the RV. So we're hanging out for business, for work, but at the same time, still connecting with the family and still spending more time. So it's all connected. Creating a lifestyle, a life that you don't need a vacation from is really what the real goal is. Like, imagine that. If people could have a life that they didn't need a vacation from, they didn't dread waking up in the morning, like go to sleep at night and they have trouble falling asleep just because they can't wait to wake up in the fucking morning to attack the next day. Like, that's the kind of lifestyle that we want to help people in general, men specifically, to achieve.
Now, is this covered in the project, or is this more of a one-on-one coaching type of situation where you help guys with this?
That's both. It definitely help. It's definitely in the project, but then also on a one-on-one coaching side, on a more personal, granular level and an ongoing basis. But yeah, that definitely kicked. It's definitely, the fire is definitely lit in the project for that. It is only a 3-day thing, but yeah, it definitely starts there.
Do you have guys who, have it fire inside, they want to build a business, but they just don't know what to do, and they just need some direction, and you kind of point them in a way? Or does most of the guys that come to you already have something in place?
Most have something in place, but there are a good percent also that might not even know what it is, the direction they want to go in, but they'll break down what it's like right now. They wake up, they dread waking up, they dread going to work. They're barely making enough money for the amount of hours they're putting in. And at the same time, they're not making millions of dollars, and they're still not seeing their kids because they're always at work and overtime and all this other stuff. So you hear their lifestyle is on a path for fucking disaster. So that they just need to make a change. Whatever it is, the first thing to change is their their mindset. And then from there, once they get their own mind in order and start taking better care of themselves physically, get their own house in order and start doing the things they should be doing at home, then all that other stuff will fall into place. It doesn't matter. They'll find that whatever direction they want to go in on starting a business, but it usually doesn't have to do with sales strategy or marketing or shit like that. Once they have those disciplines, and that stuff's going to end up happening because they're going to have that higher level of discipline and more passion into what they're doing and a purpose behind what they're doing. And like I'll ask men like that all the time. Like, open up your calendar right now. Show me your freaking calendar, and make them show me their Google Calendar. And I'll ask them before, like, what percent of that calendar is going to be business compared to stuff personally just for you, and then what percent is going to be family? And I already know I've done it with tens of thousands of men and women, and it's 95% is going to be work and business related for the majority of people. 95%. And the only stuff that's on there is maybe little Billy's soccer game once a week that they're going to be sitting there with their face buried in their phone, or maybe just drop them off and go to get something done and then come back and pick them up. Or if they're there still not even engaged, like 95% of their calendars, like, think about that. They'll spend and then still not even be financially like happy, and they don't even like the work they're doing. They fucking hate the work they're doing. They're not making enough money. They sometimes say they're living paycheck to paycheck and don't see your kids. If that's the case, like, it doesn't even make sense. Like, why would you live that? If there was going to be a time that on that, it better be for billions of dollars and for a very short amount of time to not be able to live the lifestyle you want to live or be with your family and see your family. Like, what's the point? Like, the thing how fucked up that is that their calendar is, they'll have their sales meetings on there. They'll have their team meetings on there. They'll even have disciplinary meetings with their underperforming employees. And then for that disciplinary meeting, they'll spend time on their calendar to prepare for that, to show this person what they need to do, then to coach that person up and help that person. All this due diligence for someone who's even underperforming at work is getting more time and attention on their fucking calendar, more intention, more attention than their own fucking kids. Like, think of how fucked up that is. Like, and people that hear this right now and they're like, oh shit, that's me. It should sting a little bit. I want it to sting a little bit because you need to hear not just always what you want to hear, but you need to hear what you fucking need to hear.
Yeah, that's a depressing cycle to be in, where every hour of your life is spent and you're still not making enough and you're still not seeing your family. And it can seem like there's no way out. But the way out, the decision, like if you're in a 9-to-5 job that you actually hate and it actually turns out to be like a 7-to-12 job that you're there all day, it can seem like, man, I can't quit this job. I can't quit this job, because we just build up these barriers in our own heads. But it's like, no, man, you can make the decision at any point. Like, you can change today if you wanted to.
Yeah, we've done surveys. I also go to companies and do like leadership team and team development for companies. And we'll do surveys, anonymous surveys ahead of time. And some of the things we get on the survey are like, I'm overworked, underpaid, not appreciated. And it's someone that was there been there for like whatever, 3-4 years. Yeah. And we get there and then we're in person and we don't know who said that stuff, but we bring up some of the things around these surveys so the entire team can hear some of the things going on internally, and the owners are usually there or the CEOs are there and they can get to hear this stuff, and we open up discussions and have them give feedback. That's what we do. We do it a whole different way than most people would come in and do a workshop for a team. We get down and dirty with them because that's what they freaking need, not another freaking spreadsheet. So we'll say, like, how, if you hate your job, you're not appreciated, you're claiming you're underpaid and overworked, why the fuck are you still here? Go do something else. No one is locking you down saying you have to stay here. There are plenty of other opportunities out there to do it, especially nowadays. I don't have to leave my house for 90% of the work I do until we have an event or something. Like, you could you could build $1 million business from your cell phone. Like, all that other stuff is excuses and just being lazy and probably having a bad attitude and not putting in enough effort and just being entitled and thinking things should be handed over, because it goes back to the whole cycle of society that we're talking about. Like, yeah, you don't like what you're doing, fucking do something about it. You don't like your situation in life, the job that you have, go and do something about it. How are you working on trying to level up your skills? All right, you have a dream, something you want to go and do. What are you doing on a daily basis to make that happen? And even a 9-to-5 job, I've had people have a 9-to-5 job and help them start a side business while they have their 9-to-5 job that ends up being $1 million business from just 2 hours a week on, call it next big thing time, NDT. It's like that's how we started the project. We all had full-time businesses. We didn't have time to focus on the project. We would meet for a couple hours for a dinner on like Friday evenings, sit there and just scratching down ideas on pieces of paper and napkins and drawing shit out a couple hours at a time. After a few months, we have this thing called the project because we put a bunch of pieces into place while we still had our main thing. You have to keep your main thing the main thing. If you let's say you have a 9-to-5 job that you hate, whatever, you're going to get into real estate investing. Imagine if you spent 2 hours every Friday evening studying, learning real estate investing, just diving in uninterrupted on just real estate investing. After 3 months, 6 months, after a year of 2 hours undivided attention for a year every week, you could have a $1 million portfolio by that time and be an expert in that field in that time, and still have had your full-time job. And now you have the decision. Now you have options. Right now, I could take this thing and make it my main thing and get rid of this main thing that I had, or maybe you could delegate your main thing or automate your main thing and still make some money off of that, make it a side thing and make that next big thing, make that your new main thing. And while you're doing that new real estate investing as your main thing, guess what? Now on Friday nights, you're going to have, what's that next big thing? You just keep diversifying and having multiple streams. It's so possible. People just make excuses because they don't want to put the fucking effort in.
Yeah, you need your brain to break a little bit to be able to see that. I mean, if you're in that tunnel vision for years, it's hard to think that that's possible. And let me know if you have a hard out or if you need to leave for anything.
I got all day, whatever time you need.
All right, you're spewing some nuggets here, some wisdom. So for any of this to happen, say you want to start a business, say you want to improve your life, and you see the outcomes that you want, but you're personally, you don't have your shit together. Like you're out of shape, your house is messy, you don't have your routines down. Should you even worry about going after these things until your daily habits are improved? Like, does improving yourself as a person come before everything? Like, should I start studying real estate investing until I make my bed every morning?
Or whatever daily disciplines as symbolic for your disciplines.
Exactly.
Yeah, you can if you want to half-ass it, like you probably half-assed everything in their life, because you could do it. This is a perfect example of that. There's someone I know that is in that very, very similar in that situation, but has a mindset of, oh, I'll never make money. I can never make it in business. And this is a business owner that has that mentality. And then I was asked by a friend of someone that knows that person, if I could help them out and give them some ideas on hiring better employees and sales and marketing. I said, I could give them I could give them templates and standard operating procedures. I can give them for hiring employees, a 4 series of 4 different interviews, specific questions that I've created, that I use for companies. I could give that to them. I could give them sales scripts. I could give them marketing funnels and all this kind of other shit that I have that have just built up over the years. But that's going to be useless. It's still going to suck. Doesn't matter what I give them if they're going into it with the mentality of, oh, I can never make money. I can never be successful. Yeah, fuck yeah. It doesn't only start with those daily disciplines. That is the only thing. All the marketing and the sales and all that other stuff, that's going to be a given once you take care of that, as you said, making your bed or those daily disciplines, working out. Like, I don't know, like that's always the foundation of it. That is like, because it's such a force multiplier and getting discipline and structure and routine and habits and being healthier and having more energy and enthusiasm and feeling better about yourself and confidence and looking like someone who has their shit together. Like, working out is always the foundation, but then those other daily disciplines of whatever that is for you, your non-negotiables, which is, for me, it's like that morning time, that morning routine that everyone has their own version of it. We don't have to go into the details of it, but after that, I can't lose the day. It doesn't matter. The marketing's gonna work. The sales is gonna work because you have your own fucking house in order. Meaning your own house physically, you as in yourself, and then your own house, actually your own house in order. Once that stuff is locked down, it doesn't matter what the rest of the world wants to do. You're in control of your day and your energy and your effort and your attitude. What the fuck can happen? Nothing can go wrong. Even though you can lose and fail, you're going to bounce back. You're going to say FIO, figure it out. no matter what. You're going to have confidence in your ability to figure it out no matter what comes your way because you made your freaking bed. And until you make your bed, I could hand you over $1 million sales script and you're going to still be fucking broke because in your head, you didn't make your bed, you didn't work out, you still think that you're not capable of doing it. Oh, I'll never be able to make money. I'll never be able to hire employees because I was screwed over so many times. You're right. If you think I'll never make money, you're fucking right. I'll never be able to get good employees. You're right. You are absolutely right. You won't be able to until you unfuck yourself.
Man. So whatever you think is true, bad or good. And whenever you do these daily disciplines, these daily habits every single day, you're kind of building your self-identity as the person who does those things. And if you're on a sales call and you're like, oh man, I told myself I was going to wake up at 4 a.m. yesterday and I didn't, I slept in. Then when it's time to close that sales call, you have that doubt in yourself that you can actually do it.
Tiny little arguments against yourself. Yep. Against your identity.
I do. Can you tell me what your morning routine is? You okay doing that?
Yeah, sure. So I give myself extra time on it. I know and the thing is, people want to hear a morning routine and they want to follow it. I always tell them about a morning routine. This is what works for me. Take the bits and pieces like Bruce Lee and disregard all the rest. Some people like to wake up and go work out right away. Some people like to wake up and get right to work right away. I like to first get my shit together, to get myself locked in and focused so I can operate to dominate the freaking day. So for me, I have a whole full morning routine of different checkpoints. I call it the like M9, and it involves literally a mantra, meaning, and people say, oh, you can't, affirmations and whatever. I know that you can't just say something and think it, and that's all that happens. It has to be followed by action, but why would you not re-drill stuff into your head? Like I have my journal right here, and the first thing in the morning I wake up, I'll be saying these things in my head, but it's also then written down every single day at the top of the journal. It'll tell you, operate to dominate, discipline, energy, confidence, action, free. On the other side, it says, I'm fucking awesome, no excuses, attack, kill, bring the fucking fire every second of every second. If you're always on your A game, you never have to get on your A game. And this is stuff I'm telling myself in my head. Just right there fires me up. Just saying that thing first thing in the morning, right off the bat, bam, I can't have a bad freaking day. It's a good day only. And people think I'm just trying to be like Mr. Cool guy or a tough Marine guy, like saying, no, I don't have bad days. No, I don't have bad days. It's awesome days and awesomer days because I'm setting the tone for that. And I start off right off the day by drilling that stuff in my head, actually thinking it right when I'm waking up as I'm getting ready, and then actually writing it down in journal. So the first one is mantra. Then I usually will have some noise canceling headphones right back here, and I'll put them on and have a little, some kind of music going, a little beat going to the day to just get rolling as I'm moving around, getting things done and taken care of. I say the next M is those mantra, music, then the muscles, getting the muscles fueled with hydration. And I'll usually have a small little protein shake or some kind of fuel in me. Then movement, just getting a little blood flowing for the morning. It might be a minute on just the assault bike, or just a few times up and down the flight of stairs, or just flying around the house, just some kind of movement to get energy. And it's sitting down. I have a separate, this is my workstation, so I don't do any of my morning routine or meditation or journaling here. This is war space. This is workspace on a different part of my office over there. I call it the thinking corner. That's where I then go to the next M, which is meditation. And I'll sit there with those same noise canceling headphones on. I'll have an app and I'll do 10-minute meditation. Then the next M is a motivation, like a daily reader, whatever, a motivation. And yet you need discipline, but why not? You could still motivate yourself. I'll read like a daily Stoic book, or say someone read the Bible. That'd be a perfect idea of option, because it's little bullet points. We're talking like a bullet point or a quote of the day, a page of the day, like those daily readers type books on meditation, or maybe a YouTube video or a clip of YouTube, just a minute or two. And that's the motivation. Then the mindfulness. Mindfulness is the journaling. And I'm going into journaling of what do I have to get excited about today? What am I going to fear today? How am I going to push and pressure myself today? That's what mindfulness is. What am I grateful for from yesterday? What am I grateful for in life in general? I'm writing this stuff down, paper to pen, every single morning. And what am I going to do today to get excited? What am I going to say that's fun? What am I going to say that's a little scary, that's going to push myself, that's going to grow? And a question I write every morning is, what do I need to do today to make it fucking awesome? Like, what is going to happen today? At the end of the day, I can say today was an awesome day. And that's all part of the mindfulness M. And then from there, it's the next M is the most important. I look at what is my most important tasks for the day. So I can start drilling it into my head, mentally preparing for it, visualizing what I need to do, how I need to show up for those things that are the top priorities for the day. And then the last M is a message, meaning I'll actually go on my phone and send out a couple of maybe text messages to people, check in with a couple of people that I want to. I'll do a quick Instagram story, like with a message of the day or a tip of the day or some kind of motivational message every morning. And if one person sees it, great. If no people see it, great. That's really for me. I'm talking to myself. Anything I post online or the internet, that's me talking to myself, and I'm just sharing it out there with the world. And then also on the message, the last part of that, which is pretty fucked up because I just added this maybe 2 years ago, I added this in, and I would send out, I'll do an Instagram story to followers and strangers. I'll send messages, quick check-ins with clients or whoever else, friends, like a gratitude message maybe. And I realized I didn't do anything for the wife. So now I add a message every morning, a text message, a check-in every morning, just a gratitude message every single morning to I call it the Russian. And there's all this stuff is checklisted out, make sure nothing gets missed, because even though it happens all the time, I still run off of checklists so it stays structured so you don't miss anything. And I take my time with that. Some days a little longer than others, but I create the time to be able to do that. Once I'm done with that, once all that's done, we're talking that could be done in 30 minutes. Sometimes I'll stretch it to 60.
Yeah.
I can't have a bad day after that. The day is a success from there. It doesn't matter what, don't close any deals, you don't make any money, you fuck something up, it doesn't matter. And that stuff is done. And there's also a nighttime routine, and then you know you're gonna get right back on track with your routine the next day. So it's huge setting up the day for success.
And there's a lot of people who have zero routines. You know, there's a lot of people who go to bed, you know, they have to get to work at 8 a.m. They go to sleep at midnight. They wake up 15 minutes before they need to be to work. They need to get to work and they get there sloppy, and that's their day. And, you know, from the outside, they might tell people, hey, this is great, man. I play video games at night. You know, I eat like shit during the day. I just kind of wing it. You're waking up early doing all this stuff, man. That sucks. It's like, no, you don't understand the happiness that comes from. And I'm sure you have a deep like sense of peace during that morning routine. That is like golden time. Like literally, I sometimes can't fall asleep because I can't wait to wake up to start that day, to dive into that stuff. It's you own that space. Like that is your time. And if you notice in there, I didn't say anything about drinking coffee. I didn't say anything about checking emails. There's actually nothing even in there about work. It's just checking in with what at the end, the M8 was most important. Just acknowledging what's my most important things I have to do for the day. Still don't look at the email. I have rules and boundaries and guidelines and rituals on everything. I won't check email for at least an hour after waking up, and I won't have caffeine for 2 hours after waking up. And that one's a pretty new one. I used to have like a green tea or something like right when I woke up. I said, you know what? I want to wake up myself. I want to be able to naturally be able to stop and wake up. And then I'll have a pre-workout or green tea or something, some kind of caffeine or something later on. But 2 hours before caffeine, an hour before checking email, like setting up for success. So I'm in control of the day, not caffeine. I'm in control of the day, not someone's emergency on email. Like I'm not going to be able to help them at 4 or 5 in the morning anyway. I can respond all I want. They're not going to respond to my response. So they got up and they're at like 8 or 9, like a normal work day. So why would I ruin my morning and day to respond to some fire that can probably wait till later or even doesn't even need to be responded to? When does the workout come in? Because you obviously work out.
Yeah, so it's different Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. It's at about 9:30. I'll give myself 30 minutes to get ready for the workout, 30 minutes, and this is all time blocked on a calendar, color coded and all that. 30 minutes to get ready for the workout, 30 minutes to get to the gym, and then I'll give myself 2.5 hours actually of time at the gym, and then 30 minutes to get back. And that's Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Then Tuesday and Thursdays I work out at home. We do a home workout with the family, and those are later in the afternoon. But those are the times that work for me. It fits the schedule depending on what we have with coaching calls and stuff. But yeah, that happens every day. And Saturday and Sunday are usually around as 9 or 10 a.m. Saturday and Sundays. But we work out every single day. And even the days I'm going to the gym, like my son has freaking 11 years old. He has a membership to 24 Hour Fitness. He has a membership to UFC gym and then to 2 jiu-jitsu gyms. So we're constantly going places, training and having fun.
That's awesome. How long has he been doing jiu-jitsu?
On and off for about 3 years now.
Okay. Yeah, it's about my son. He's just turned 9. He was doing general MMA and now he's been doing jiu-jitsu. And it's amazing what that does for them. Like, and my daughter does it too. She's 7. She started when she was 4, I think. When you're 4, you're mostly just kind of rolling around with people. But to be that young and have a kid on top of your chest, choking you out and feeling that stress and not freaking out, I feel like is so good for a young person. Because I didn't start jiu-jitsu until I was 32. Yeah, when I was 32, I started. And I remember my first time someone had me inside control, someone was sitting on my chest and I could barely breathe. Just the inner anxiety and fear and claustrophobia that came up that you eventually get over. It kind of translates to a lot of different parts of your life. But for a kid, when they're just growing up with that from, 4 or 5 years old, of just this dealing with this stress and pressure, I feel like it is so beneficial for them.
Yeah, I think all kids should be working out and doing jiu-jitsu. Like all adults, everyone, every human, like what better personal development and so many lessons. And those are force multiplying activities that I think if you're training, doing jiu-jitsu, like those skills are going to transfer over and help you be successful in whatever you're trying to do.
Absolutely. And it really helps you overcome daily struggles, I think. And for the daily struggles that men and fathers are going through that you see so much of, if there was like one, if your life's a wreck, if you're listening to this, you're like, man, I got to get my shit together. Today is going to be different. Like not tomorrow. As soon as I'm done listening to this, I'm going to do something. What do you think? What should they do?
I'm going to assume they're already working out. Like we just said, working out jiu-jitsu. I'm going to assume those are done. Yep. One that people don't think about it, and I tell people about all the time, I'm going to say is, yes, you definitely the morning routine. We're going to assume that's already done. There's 4 checkpoints throughout the day I think that everyone should have. And so the morning routine is your personal time. Then you need to have a start of workday routine. That's transitioning from, all right, that personal time to now get into work mode. So a start of workday routine. That can be very simple. And that's still not the one. Then you're working all day. The key one that I think most people need is an end of workday routine, an end of workday routine. Then there's also an end of night routine. So that's the 4 checkpoints: morning routine, start of workday routine, end of workday routine, and then end of night. But the one that's probably missing is the end of workday routine. And that's what causes such people that can't have work-life balance or whatever they want to call it. I don't even call it balance, but because they drag and bleed the stress, anxiety from work into home, and then they're bringing home and their fucking families getting there's like shit leftovers of them, the worst version of them, whatever's left over after work, suck the life out of them, and they're just showing up and bringing the least amount of energy into the home and into their kids, and it's fucking disgusting. And so having an end of workday routine where you have an actual ritual to deal with that work-life balance. I call it work-life symmetry or work-life alignment, work-life fulfillment. So you can have work-life domination or even happiness. That end of workday routine is freaking huge. And the way that what it means is basically you're transitioning from work mode, from that professional into personal mode, because you will drag that energy in. And it's nothing magical. It's just knowing that there's that checkpoint. It's not any brain surgery. Like part of my end of workday routine, and there's a full checklist that I have that I'll go through, but we could go through it all or not. But like one point, for instance, is right here, closing this line at the end of the day. You can see right here, it just got dark right here. It's symbolic of ending my workday. It means the workday is over and I'm closing up shop for the day. So little things like that, little triggers, little psychological triggers. Now I'm powering off my computer. But first of all, before I power off the computer, I'm scanning all my emails for the day to think, did any emails come in that I missed that I didn't respond to? Any loops that I need to close for the day so it's not 8 p.m. later? I'm like, oh, fuck, I forgot to respond to that email. And I got to stop playing Legos with my kids to go and open up my laptop and start sending out an email. Like, holy crap, like the worst thing you want to be doing. So I'm scanning emails, scanning text messages, scanning social media just one last time for the day, looking at the schedule that I just finished for the day. What did I get done? What did I miss? What needs to maybe get pushed back to a different day or whatever? What didn't get done? What do I have coming up tomorrow so I could check in so I don't have to be stressing about it and think about later what's coming up tomorrow? Writing down and planning, what are my top priorities, most important things that I need to do tomorrow so I don't have to be stressing out at nighttime. Then I'm literally powering down the computer, like this is my main computer. Of course, I have tablets and laptops and phones you can work on, but just symbolically of literally clicking on the computer, shut down, like turn down the computer. Once the computer's shut down, then it's I'm doing closing the shades. Because I remember back in like elementary school, I remember in kindergarten specifically, the end of the day, every kid had a job. One kid would water the plant, one kid would put all the chairs on top of the desk, one kid would close the blinds, and I hated school. I had no friends, I didn't get along with anyone. We were like the poorest family around, so my father had no muffler on his car, and all the kids would say they couldn't sleep because my father's muffler woke them all up, and he was like he was the town drunk, and everyone knew about, I hated school. Like, I fucking hated school. So I remember when the shades would go down in school, it was like a big relief of, if I had to go home, my father wouldn't be there because he'd be out at the bar probably, so I didn't have to deal with him until later at night. So it was like a huge relief off of my shoulders knowing I get to get out of this fucking prison, this hellhole. And so it's psychological triggers like that end the workday. It says, right, the work is over. Once the shades are closed, I'll leave this workstation. I'll clean it up, make it neat so it's organized for the morning when I come in. I'll go over to a different part of the office, back over to that thinking corner, sit there just for a minute or two and do a quick little meditation of visualization, gratitude, clear my mind. I'll read another little bit of some daily reader stuff just to soak in some positivity into the head. And then literally walk towards the office door, say you're in your car, walking into the house, whatever it is. And every step, like literally visualizing, all right, this warrior just came out of battle, taking off the armor, the chest plate, throwing it on the floor, and I could hear the metal cling on the floor, taking off the warrior's helmet and dropping it, tossing the sword and the shield for every step, taking pliers and plucking out the bullets that were shot into my chest, the shots that were fired during the day, taking tweezers and pulling out the arrows that were shot into my back, and I was shot in the back, not even in blindside throughout the workday, and visualizing that. And then I get to the doorway and actually I visualize this like blue portal, like from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, where they would walk through those portals, and I go through that magical portal, and it's literally transforming from the project instructor, or from the CEO, or whatever you are, the manager, the salesman, the entrepreneur, from professional to personal, transforming into the husband, the man, the human, the dad, and going and leaving that energy behind. So that type of end of workday routine where you are not dragging that drama and negative energy and bullshit, and then they get home from work and all they do is start talking about the shit that happened at work, the bad things at work with their wife, and the kids are there, and this is their greeting and what they know. And this is the only life they know. Like, what a miserable fucking life.
I think that happens a lot. Is you're doing stuff at work, you're doing stuff in your business, you get home. Yeah, I'm guilty of it too. You want to share it with someone, you start sharing it with your wife, and she's like, man, this is the first time I've seen you all day. This is not what I want to hear right now.
Bitching and complaining as a greeting.
Yeah. It's definitely something that many people need to work on. After listening to all that, what I noticed was that, someone might look at you and say, man, Steve just has it together. Like, he just is this person. But what you're describing is like constant working on yourself. It's like you have like 100 checkpoints, 100 things you do every day to make yourself who you want to be. Like, even just going from work to being a husband and father, like, you've got all these things you visualize, you physically do, steps you take. It's not like you were just born like this. It's like every single day you're making sure that you have to become this thing. Like, you're still, even though you're, successful in many things you do right now, like tomorrow, you're still going to have to work to be this person. Like, it's not just a given.
And the second you slip up, I slip up and screw shit up every day at some point, but you have to keep working at it. You get in the military, we say complacency kills. You get complacent and it'll kill your business. It'll kill your relationships. It'll kill your fitness. Like, you have to, we also say in the military, in the Marines, you have to earn the title of Marine every day. It's the same thing. You have to earn the title of husband, of dad every single day. You're not just because you had a kid, you're not a dad every day. You need to re-earn that title and that respect every single freaking day by the habits you're having and what you're doing every single day.
And I think that does kill people is in business and a lot of other areas is you have a great year, you have a really great day, and then you take the next day off and then you're like, man, I'm good. And then that day turns into a week, turns into a month, and a year later, you're a different person. But to have that discipline and consistency of every single day saying, I have to go through this. I have to earn my fitness. I have to earn the title of husband. I have to earn a title of father, all this stuff that if I don't, like if you skipped out on your daily routines from one day, you'd be like 100 steps behind, and that would just compound.
Yeah, there's times where just little pieces are missing and the whole day just feels off. Something just doesn't feel right, even if you don't even realize what it is. And when you break it down, you're like, holy shit, that's what it was. Or if you got fell behind on something, any of those things are missing, those daily disciplines, like it'll throw off every other area of your life.
If there is something to take from this whole talk, which is awesome, so much wisdom to share from someone like yourself, and you're a guy who's like, man, I got to make some changes, man. I want to be more like Steve, or I need to implement some of these things. The thing that I'm taking is you have to have a plan of some sort. Like you can't just wing every single day, wake up and say, oh, well, I'm happy today, let's see what happens. Like you have to have your 4 checkpoints like you were talking about. If I want to do good at business today, I have to go into business with this plan. If I want to be a good father today, I have to go in with this plan. If I want to go to sleep calm and with peace of mind, I have to do this routine. Like nothing is left up to chance. And many of us go through life winging it just based on how we feel that day. If we're depressed, we watch TV and drink beer. If we're happy, maybe we'll do a workout. If we're feeling loving, maybe we'll say, I love you to my wife. But none of that is being left up to chance.
Like I said, even that message in the morning to my wife, there's times where I've sat down for my start of work day and I do have a spreadsheet with a checklist of all that stuff to do in the morning. I'm like, oh shit, I didn't send out that message. What a loser. I have to go back over and then send it out. But yeah, it's got to be checked in with every day, or you will slip up, you will get complacent. And every day is a war. That's what the project, we say in the project, is a metaphor for life. Like it's the chaos of life, and how are you going to maintain your emotional discipline and order in that chaos? And that's exactly what it's about, is turning chaos to order.
Every day is a war, leave nothing to chance, chaos to order. Those are great quotes. And I think that summarizes this. So I think that's a good place to stop. And that was awesome. Hour and a half, man. So much wisdom. If you're listening to this, listen to this one a few times and take notes. That was a lot of guys could change their life listening to this. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Great talking to you. Let me know if you need anything.
Is there anything you want people to know about? Any social media handles, any events coming up, anything you want to say?
Just that like I said, my son is doing a workout today for kids, starting his own little side thing for fun called Freak Fit. So we're eventually going to put that out there for him to open to the public. This is just a private group right now of kids that he's doing it with. But then also coming up this month, we're doing a 24-hour workout here at our house, and it's for charity, for a fundraiser for Tim Kennedy's Save Our Allies. So you could just look out for that on social media at steveeckert.1 on Instagram. And we're going to be, that's really what we're focusing on right now, is this 24-hour workout. We're literally going to be here working out for 24 hours. We're doing a 1 mile run, then 100 push-ups, 100 squat thrusts, 100 crawl outs, and repeating that for 24 hours. How many rounds we can get in 24 hours, and it's all for charity, for fundraiser, for the Save Our Allies Foundation.
It's awesome. So it's steve.eckert1 on Instagram.
Steve Eckert, I think it's Steve Eckert.1. I don't even, I have to look up, but you could just check on social media. It's not even all about that. This is about just helping provide value to your audience. So yeah, they could look it up on steve.eckert1 on Instagram.